So I guess in this video we'll talk about kind of the state of the channel. I know I put a community post up, and I've really got to be more careful with them because people, whenever you put like you're thinking about the channel, people immediately kind of go to are you going to quit or are you going to take time off, which is normal. If I saw someone put a post up, I probably would have the same reaction. So probably need to be a bit more careful with that. I just want to say shout out to my boy from work, Uchi Chaos. Um, Gave me a good pep talk today. Day of recording this video, and kind of reminded me of a lot of things, which I guess we'll talk about kind of in the video later on. But I'll put a link to his channel in the description below, and probably in the pinned comment because yeah, no, I needed someone to talk to me, to be honest, and yeah, we'll talk about that in a minute. Well, I guess the state of myself is like it's tiring because I work full time, 37 hours a week, and plus I have to go to the office and come back via, Great British public transport, which for me it's not actually too bad, luckily, but it's still kind of sucky. It takes a while, but yeah, it's just tiring, and always being behind the news cycle. I guess I was never on top of things anyways, but now I'm just, I use my weekends to record and things like that, so it's not the best. In terms of content, I'm kind of happy-ish with the content. I wish I could do the essay stuff again, but it's so difficult to do, and when you put a lot of hours into a video and it doesn't do well, especially compared to the easier ones to do, the more reactionary content, which I guess people prefer, and it would make sense because it's just a better format, I think, for me, in terms of my personality, but also the fact that I can interject pretty quickly and kind of correct records on people, which I think people do appreciate. So it's not the content I'm proud of, like, the most proud of, but it's not something where I feel like it's a burden, like I have to do this kind of content because there's nothing else I can put out, and my biggest fear for the channel was always it'd be a burden on me, but I guess it felt like that a bit at some points, but for the most part it's what I enjoy doing kind of most, and sometimes it does feel like, or rather than the channel being a part of me, it feels more like a persona, someone who's a lot more confident and is willing to kind of throw down with politicians and people who are educated, in private schools and things like that. But I felt today, it felt like I got it back. It wasn't a persona; it was part of kind of my existence.
My soul.
So today in that sense was good. It felt like I reclaimed something, even though it's kind of hard. It's hard to explain, and some days I'm unsure of what the channel should be.
I said my sword was a tool of justice. Not used in anger. Not used for vengeance. But now I'm not so sure.
It's tough. It's tough to explain, but it's like, like what should the channel look like? What kind of content should I do? Who should I be criticizing? Things like that. I saw kind of the Linus and Steve situation. So Linus Tech Tips and Steve Burke of Gamers Nexus, where Steve did a big expose on Linus, and it was kind of the catalyst, I would argue, for a lot of the hate kind of Linus Tech Tips got, and it felt like those two were friends, or at least knew each other in person, and maybe it shouldn't have gone down the way it went down. I kind of discussed it a bit on the live stream, but it felt off. Maybe it was personal, I don't know, but I know what it feels like to have kind of other people who do bad content, and you kind of want to call them out on it, I guess. And I've done that, but I've never wanted to incite a mob or anything. But I guess I never thought about what the consequences of going after other people in the space would be. I never thought about the consequences for myself or the consequences for them. Luckily, it didn't. My content didn't create a hate mob. That stuff didn't go viral. And obviously on the day you're disappointed that the video didn't do well, and you wanted more people to see it for multiple reasons. But at the same time, maybe it's kind of a blessing that I don't really go after other people in the space as much as I could do. I do it more than everyone else does, but that's just part of what I want to be, which is go after people who sell snake oil. I don't appreciate those people, and no one should, honestly. If you think someone's selling snake oil, even if it's me, I would hope that people would call me on it. My contingency plan for the channel is if other YouTubers don't call me out because I'm a relatively small channel, or they don't want beef or drama, I guess, then I would hope the audience does it, and the audience have done it to me a few times, and although I can be very defensive and annoying about it. In the end, if it's justified criticism, I think I come around to it. I'm never happy about being called out, no one is, but at the same time, it's just about how you react to situations. And so I never wanted to kind of incite mobs or anything like that. I try and criticize people so they can do better, especially the ones with bigger channels who should be doing a lot better, the ones who push snake oil about the single market and things like that. And it's important to kind of, for me, to remember what I wanted the channel to be, because I did start this because it's what I'm good at. This is the one thing I'm good at, which is covering politics, politicians, cutting through nonsense. It's the one thing I can honestly say I'm really good at. And so, that I kind of owe it to myself to pursue it. But at the same time, I also have to remember that the channel I made was a promise to someone that I would do something cool in honor of them. And so I've kind of forgotten that over the years, really, because I've been doing this is the 4th year, and I forgot why I kind of started this channel, was to do something cool in the honor of someone else. And it's important for me to remember that. That's why I made this channel. It wasn't just so I could go after people who are stupid and cringe and push snake oil. I wanted to do something cool, and there are lots of good gaming channels, lots of good kind of review channels and all sorts of other things, but there aren't many good politics channel. I can genuinely say that. So it's important to remember that I did this for fun. I did this because I was good at it, and I never wanted the channel to be a burden on myself. So that's one of the things I've got to remember, why I started this, and why I should continue to hopefully do it regardless of being tired or putting a lot of hours in, is to do my best and not be hard on myself when I do badly or when I fail. That's the important thing. I should stop. When I spoke to him today, my production on the channel should be better, but not comparing myself to other people, regardless of how good I think I am, because I keep telling myself that I'm better than a lot of the guys in the space, a lot better than them. My analysis is better than theirs. I think my delivery sometimes even better than theirs. But then if that's the case, then surely I should have the numbers to reflect, or at least better numbers. But in reality, my channel is smaller than a lot of the other dudes in the space, even the ones who started after me. And, kind of, it hurts to think about, because it's like, well, are you as good as you think you are then? Because the numbers don't reflect it. What am I basing that on? My analysis, my comments, which are subjective. There's no way for me to say I'm better than X person if they get better numbers than me and they get a lot more positive responses than I do. Not saying, my audience is not very positive. I don't want it to be an echo chamber. But in terms of negativity, in terms of towards me, I don't get a lot of it, which I'm thankful for the audience. I hope that the day that I make those mistakes, the audience do speak to me rather than coming after me. But that day will come. There'll be more of those eventually. Someone did say that they thought I was being a bit picky during my live stream, and maybe I was a bit. Maybe I was, but that's a comment I wouldn't take in. I wouldn't feel bad for, honestly, if people said that. So I've got to stop, I guess, comparing myself to others and really look at myself and think 7,000 subs is, and that's what he was trying to convince me of today, really, that if you had a room full of that many people, it'd be incredible. But there are a lot of subscribers. I should be a bit more grateful for what I have, genuinely, because although it's not as good as some of the other people in the space, it's still pretty good. I've reached a level where a lot of other people on YouTube wouldn't reach, and I should be grateful for that. So I'm grateful to the audience. I'm grateful to the channel members, grateful to the patrons who've kind of stuck with it, despite my kind of lack of content and maybe not a lack of quality, but kind of different style, which people have kind of accepted, rather than me trying to do video essays all the time, which are very time consuming and difficult. This format's a lot easier for me, and people have kind of accepted it. This is what YouTube's more really built for, I think, reacting to content and reviewing it. I think that's what I think one of the reasons people come to YouTube anyways. So, I did use the channel for justification of not being in the best shape, not wanting to get to be in a relationship, not wanting to be married, not missing social events and things like that. And I use the channel as an excuse, kind of as a shield or a shroud to protect myself from events I don't really want to go to or things I don't feel comfortable doing. But at the same time, I've kind of isolated myself, I think, from kind of my friends and family to an extent, and that's something I really have to work on as well. It's just making more time for me, but it's hard to juggle that and making time for the channel. Maybe I need to cut the games out a bit more and focus on the other things that are important in life. Maybe that's why people hate adulthood and it sucks, but that's something I really need to look at as well. But not to be too hard on myself or when those things happen. And I need to go back to that place where I was towards the start of the channel, where I did speak at 2x speed. Genuinely, like, I've listened back to those videos, I'm like, my man wanted to get out quick because he was speaking with, like Barry Allen runs lightning fast. And I think my delivery slowed down as I've got more confident in doing this stuff. I know people still kind of say the videos are a bit quick, my speech is a bit quick, and there is a limit to how much I can actually slow down. That's the problem. You can only change so much in how you speak and your mannerisms, I believe, unless you go to speaking classes like Theresa May and Thatcher. And like today, I kind of found that kind of fire again. When I looked in the mirror, for the last week or so, I felt uneasy, doubt. I wasn't sure where the channel was. I'm not sure where it was going. And to an extent, I still don't know. But, instead of feeling kind of anger as kind of the fuel, kind of what happened with Zuko in the Avatar series, I recommend it if you haven't watched it. I needed to find something again, and I found it a bit today where the channel felt more like it was a part of me rather than something I was forced to do, rather than a persona, something I put on, like when Sugar Ray Leonard, fought Duran for the first time when he lost. He said when he looked in the mirror, he couldn't see Sugar Ray. He only saw himself, something on those lines, anyways. But when they had the rematch, he saw Sugar Ray in the mirror, and that's what kind of felt like. When I was, it felt like today. I wasn't kind of a persona. I felt like myself. It's kind of hard to explain, but I felt a lot more confident. More confident than I felt in a long time. Regardless of my doubts of the channel or seeing kind of these two dudes that I actually liked a lot in, kind of Steve and Linus, kind of the fall of Linus, I guess, and Steve really just burying a brother. You don't want to see that. Maybe that's for me to really think about when I go after other people as well, to be a bit more careful in the words I say and the things that I do, just because it kind of, I wonder if people do take it personally. Maybe they won't say anything because they know I'm right in these kind of critique pieces, but I do wonder, does it hurt them personally? Do I want that kind of? Do I want to be the person that does that to other people? I don't know. And again, I'm not sure where things are going next. I've got to remember that kind of the sky, it's not unclear and kind of grey anymore, and things being uncertain, it's not a bad thing. So I appreciate my bro kind of showing me that today, and it's up to me to kind of find it again, I guess, the blue sky, the clear sky, if that makes sense.
Dude, this isn't the real sky. It's not gloomy, it's big and blue. Let's fly together and we'll go find it. How's that sound? Huh?
These kind of weird terms, there'll be a lot of references to things you probably won't have watched or understood. But, after... there was in MGS2, you had two of the major characters who couldn't have children, so they were, when they spoke about legacy, one of them, he wanted to be an Exxon, he wanted to be remembered through history. But the other person, he didn't want that. He wanted a more quiet life, I guess. When he talked about what his legacy would be, joy, anger, and sorrow. These are the things he'll leave behind. And I think that's an important thing for me to remember as well, where it's not about making major changes or trying to change people's minds. It's just about trying to kind of show my perspective on things. It's a bit narcissistic, I know, but trying to show people kind of my take on things. That's why one of the reasons I made the channel as well. It was just meant to be an outlet for myself, to talk about political events, because otherwise I drive everyone mad because I end up talking to them about it. So it's one of the reasons I made the channel, and I think that's the motivations for some other people. It's just to try and find maybe some like-minded people or people to discuss issues with. And that's one of the reasons why I should continue the channel, really, because otherwise I'll drive everyone else nuts. So probably not the best motivations there, but it's a good outlet for me to kind of discuss issues and look at what's going on in the world, I guess. And being the anti-hero of the space, that's the role I wanted to take, and obviously that comes with consequences. You got to be careful, how far you go in the things you say, otherwise you do cross the line of anti-hero into villain. And so that's something I need to be wary of. But, there needs to be a watchman in the space, and, there's no better person than me to do it, genuinely. I'll wear that with pride, and when the people come after me, I will fall on my sword with pride, because that's just the way it is, When you go after other people, you got to be ready to take it, and I've got to prepare myself for that day. Maybe that's the day I feared the most, where people come after me. But yeah, genuinely, things have to. I think my mentality has to change a lot. I was very bitter. I was very bitter at other people. When I saw their kind of numbers, and I'm thinking, your content's not better than mine. I know it's not. Your analysis ain't as good as mine. Your delivery is not even as good as mine. So why should you have more success than me? I need to stop looking at those people. You know, I will I will look at their content. I will critique it when needed. I will praise them when needed, most definitely. But you know, it can't be a numbers game for me. You know, the channel is in, and it's actually in a decent spot considering that I've dropped off in making a lot of content. You know, and it's not always what I want, but it has to be that. You know, it's got to be a few videos a week. That's what I want to be doing. You know, I am behind in topics, probably about by a week, maybe more, depending on how things go. But you know, as long as my analysis is good, I think people will always come back for that to see what I have to say, hopefully, on certain topics. And that's what, as long as my analysis is good, as long as people find the channel relatively funny, or at least if there's something bringing people back to the channel, then, you know, it's a success. You know, it's not always about changing people's minds. It's just to show people kind of another take on what's going on out there, and just hoping that, you know, they can take away something from a video. You know, that's the most important thing from any video I make, is I hope someone learns something or gets something new from a video I have. That's the point of it. And you know, sometimes, or at least a lot of the time, is the case, especially early on in the channel, where I learned a lot of things from a lot of new people. You know, I met a lot of people through this channel. You know, shouts out Max for giving me a chance at the start as well. You know, being on his channel helped mine a lot. Shouts out Alex, you know, Political X, for doing the Sunday roast and stuff. You know, maybe I do need to do more of those kind of pieces as well, where I actually shout out No Justice as well, because I was on her channel a while ago, and maybe I do need to do more pieces where I talk to people. Obviously my time is limited, but you know, it's still there. You know, it still exists, and maybe that's one of the things I need to do, because it is isolating, kind of just talking to myself in this microphone, and the only kind of feedback I get is, you know, comments, which is great, but it's like, it's not live feedback, if that makes sense. It's just kind of people listen to something that I've said, you know, a few days or a week ago. The live streams are good fun, because at least I can get live feedback as well. You know, appreciate everyone with their super chats and stuff like that. The production will improve. You know, I've got a new mic, which I think is better. I've got, hopefully I'll get, you know, the iPad so I can use it as a soundboard, and I'll do, you know, a few other pieces to really help out the channel. But, you know, I am willing to put more into the channel. You know, it's not over. You know, that's the point. You know, I don't want anyone to be worried like I'm going to stop, because, you know, there are some other good channels in the space, but we are different to an extent. We cover different things within the same space, and I'm not looking to go more niche. You know, I wanted to stay broad. I want to be able to cover, you know, international stuff, national stuff, the different political parties. I don't want to put myself in the box of just a guy who criticises the Conservative Party, or I don't want to one of those guys who's like, oh, everything Starmer does is wrong. You know, when he does something right, I'll let you know, or I'll try to. That's kind of more what I want with the channel, you know, is to be not necessarily more positive, but I've always wanted to offer people kind of the harsh reality of situations, and I hope people see that. So in conclusion, it's just, you know, be as real to yourself as you can be. You know, for me to put out the content that I want to put out, not to change, you know, editorial, not to use sensationalist thumbnails or clickbait. Some of the titles are maybe sensationalist, borderline, but never clickbait. I would never say I've done any real clickbait on the channel like other people do with their random question marks, and everything has to be a question. Is X the new Y? Did this happen? Did that happen? I always try and offer you, you know, definitive answers to things, which, you know, that's the content I appreciate. You know, if tell me why X is the new Y. You know, don't be like, is X the new Y? Because I don't care. I want to know if things have changed, if the meta has changed, if things have changed. That's what I want. But it's been a bit of a rambling mess. I've had some thumbnails, some bullet points and stuff, kind of where I want to be. Like I said, shouts out to my boy as well. You know, subscribe to his channel. You know, he really, like I said, he really bailed me out today, because my headspace was all wrong. I think I was kind of growing in bitterness towards certain people, which is wrong. I shouldn't be that, you know. More, yeah, of course, you know, who doesn't? But at the same time, it's important to kind of look back on, you know, this channel being very small. You know, the first year of it, I think I didn't even have 100 subs, and, you know, for just over 4 years down the line, you know, I've got 7,000, might hit 8,000 this year. You know, these are decent achievements. These are decent achievements, and I need to remember that and be grateful for that. Because otherwise you just grow into envy and jealousy, and you don't help anyone. You change as a person into a worse person than you are, and no one wants to do that. So I guess the moral of the story is to stop beating myself up, and time to level things up. But anyways, I'll catch you guys in the next video, and don't be too concerned for me. You know, I didn't want pity or anything like that, even sympathy. I just wanted to kind of tell you guys what's going on with the channel. So yeah, if you made it this far, you know, congrats to you for listening to me be miserable for about 20 minutes, and I'll catch you in the next one. Bye bye.